do you open a show when you're like this downtrodden without you can't have any excitement, nothing? The Arizona Cardinals embarrassed by the Los Angeles Rams. Monday Night Football edition of Wild Card Weekend. It wraps up this round of the playoffs, and the Cardinals are going home. We're talking about it. It's Bo Brock, it's Alex Clancy, and it's Locked on Cardinals.
You are Locked on Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
That was a kick to the pants. Awful. 34-11. Arizona Cardinals dominated all three phases by the Los Angeles Rams. They were the team that showed up to play today. They were more physical than the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals didn't have, anything that you could take away from this contest and say, hey, I'm proud of that. It was just a brutal performance. Bo Brock, Alex Clancy, this is your post-game knee-jerk reaction podcast. We'll have a full recap podcast that'll drop after midnight. But we've got to, this is going to be therapeutic. This is going to be us airing the grievances. It's Festivus right now here for the podcast. Alex, what do you not get the Seinfeld reference? Let's go, bud.
I get it. It's completely out of place. Isn't Festivus supposed to be something exciting? Yeah. No, it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. Are you surprised? Please enter a name. This is called Working 16-Hour Days. Thank you very much. I will tell you one thing. The moratorium is over. Cliff Kingsbury needs to go. Steve Keim needs to go. And the Cardinals need to start over. And if you think that that's not true, if you think that Cliff Kingsbury deserves another shot, I got nothing for you. And the reason why, this is not because just because of this performance. It's because of every big game the Cardinals have faced since they started 6-3 last year. Since the Hail Murray of last year, the Cardinals have not won one game that mattered. Not one. And who's the head coach? Cliff Kingsbury. Who hired him? Steve Keim. Cliff Kingsbury had two jobs. One, to elevate Kyler Murray. Hasn't done that. Two, to make the offense a powerhouse in the NFL or something close to it. The defense is better than the offense for the Arizona Cardinals and has been for the last 2 years. If the offense isn't the strength of the Arizona Cardinals, why is Cliff Kingsbury the head coach? The answer is he shouldn't be, because it isn't. And now, are you completely on the other side of the pale still? For me, the other side of the spectrum that I am? All joking aside, do you still think I'm crazy for thinking that?
I think that you're crazy for wanting to move off of Cliff Kingsbury and think that he's the sole reason that they got blown out. They got dominated every single phase. I don't want to make this. We have a full off season worth, and we're going to still do daily podcasts here on Locked On Cardinals. We have a ton of content coming in. We've got a lot of debate as far as that's concerned. The Cardinals were dominated in every facet of this game. I mean, the Los Angeles Rams just imposed their will on the Arizona Cardinals. The Rams came out to play. The Arizona Cardinals did not. There's absolutely a lot of responsibility on the head coach for that. And Cliff Kingsbury has to take a long look in the mirror on who he is as a play caller, on who he is as a leader of men. Can he even lead men? What he needs to do to remedy the situation. Is it something that they can fix, that he can fix? Can he be the guy to fix it? A lot of people, they believe, including yourself, that they know who Cliff Kingsbury is. But I think Cliff Kingsbury, like Vance Joseph, was able to change the narrative around him a little bit this season. Now, to use this just immediately after this game to just kind of make my decision right now, I'm gonna stay where I've been, and I'm gonna stay steadfast with that. But that doesn't excuse anything from tonight. That doesn't excuse anything from how the Arizona Cardinals performed, and your franchise quarterback that we've seen play at an MVP caliber level at times played like one of the worst players in the playoffs tonight. Like, when I was thinking about this, when you think about how the Arizona Cardinals exited and you think about the other 5 teams that lost, are the Arizona Cardinals more like the Cowboys Or are they more like the Philadelphia Eagles or Pittsburgh Steelers who seemed overmatched from, for the bulk of the games?
Yeah. I mean, I think Big Ben is at the bottom of the totem pole. I mean, Jalen Hurts played terribly for 3 quarters. Like, the thing with Kyler Murray didn't play well, and he hasn't played well the second half of the season, really, aside from the game in Dallas. Now, this isn't all on Cliff, and that's not what I'm saying when I say that. But Vance Joseph got fired in Denver when he had no quarterback play. So if you have a top 12 quarterback and you continuously have these second halves where they lost 5 of 6, 6 of 7 to end the season, including tonight, 5, and then last year started 6-3. They were in the driver's seat and they don't make the playoffs. That's not all on Kyler.
No.
The whole thing about this is your offensive-minded quarterback, your offensive-minded head coach, your head coach that came in because they were drafting Kyler Murray. This is a weird package deal where it's not so much like, oh, well, this is the quarterback I'm given, so I guess I'll work with it. They brought him in to mold Kyler Murray into a QB1. And Cliff Kingsbury has constantly been bailed out by Kyler Murray. And that's not an absolute statement, but he's been bailed out a lot by Kyler Murray, making Cliff look a lot better. The defense has bailed Cliff out a lot. And when he has 0 touches inside the defensive locker room. So he's been given the benefit of the doubt more than any coach have ever. I don't understand why the truthers are out there about Cliff Kingsbury. Just blanketed.
Well, because there's data that shows you just at face value the improvement from this organization, from where it was in 2018 and where it is now. And like I said, and I'm going to stress this, I don't want to make this conversation about if Cliff Kingsbury should be fired tonight, because I think we've got we can't just start this right now, because we're going to be talking about it a lot. And I want to give it its just due. Cliff Kingsbury was awful. The Arizona Cardinals offensive line. Let's talk about where the problem really starts with is the offensive line was putrid. They couldn't protect Kyler Murray at all in the first half. I mean, DJ Humphries was a turnstile against Von Miller, who is a couple of years older than DJ Humphries, but he was going around him with ease. The interior of the Arizona Cardinals offensive line hasn't been good enough for the entire stretch that they've struggled. That's where, their biggest downfall has been. So when you see guys like Isaiah Simmons being drafted instead of Tristan Wirfs, when you see in back-to-back drafts that your general manager has taken linebackers and you can't stop the run, who's the biggest problem here? Cliff Kingsbury is only as good as the players that he has on the field. Did the players stack up player for player, roster for roster against the Rams? Because the Rams showed that they were the better talent, the more talented team tonight.
Yeah, right? The better coached and the more prepared.
But if you're gonna compare him to Sean McVay, if you're gonna compare the 31 other head coaches in the league, you're gonna see you're gonna fall short. But
it wasn't even close, Bo.
It wasn't close. But at the same the players did not show up tonight. They did not. There was nobody that went out there and played with any passion, any fire, any aggressiveness. They got absolutely clowned out there. They're the mockery of the NFL. When you think about NFL wildcard weekend, you think about how bad the Pats lost, and you think about the Monday night debacle that was, and people are talking about how good the Rams are and how bad the Arizona Cardinals are. The Cardinals are exactly who we thought. We were completely proven right about how bad the Cardinals actually were. And that, for that, the franchise to come away from a season where they won 11 games with that title or with that kind of narrative around them, yeah, there's issues. There's absolute issues. So, like I said, I hear you. We're going to have the conversations about Cliff Kingsbury, but I want to make this more about tonight.
Yeah, but this is just a microcosm of everything. This is the organization in a game pretty much in the entirety of its existence. A save a Santonio Holmes catch or no catch that people are Uncle Ricoing about. This is the Arizona Cardinals organization tonight. This is it. This is what it's been. And unless you make some radical changes, it seems like this is what it's going to continue to be. They're going to need to go back to the drawing board. The conversations we were having mid-season about bringing everybody back, that's going to go into question. You're going to see Zach Ertz be like, you know what? Maybe the Bucks need a tight end. You know what? Maybe the Rams need a tight end. James Conner, you know what? Maybe I can go elsewhere where a team doesn't absolutely fall apart the second half of the season. You know, like, and the thing about, man, the defense, it's just like, there were no redeeming qualities tonight. Zero.
No, there weren't. And the points that they put up, it was garbage time. Like you can't say, hey, you can build off of that. That's completely absurd. Like the Arizona Cardinals, I see a lot of people in the comments saying like this Mars clean house. I just think that's which Bieniemy. Like, what do we know about Eric Bieniemy, and what do we know his role is as far as the success of the Kansas City Chiefs? He's got Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback skill set on the planet, and he's got Andy Reid, who has the primary play calling in that. Like, we don't know anything about Bieniemy. It could be the same thing as Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, you're going to have another green head coach, a guy that has no playoff experience as far as the main guy. That's what's available. I mean, unless you're going to go the route of like Jim Caldwell, like you're going to have somebody it's going to be a complete roll of the dice as well. I mean, I saw Brian Flores. Brian Flores didn't make the playoffs. The Dolphins, they played themselves out of the playoffs in the first 6-7 weeks of the season. They were fighting to stay relevant. I mean, they won double digits games last year, but they didn't make the playoffs either. You don't know what Brian Flores looks like when the lights are brighter. I'm just saying, here's my point. You don't know, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. You don't know you know what you've gotten from Cliff, and you've got steady progression and development. You had a stinker tonight. It was awful. It was brutal. It was embarrassing. You're the mockery of the NFL right now. But, you know, that's also part of the game as well. I mean, Bill Belichick was humbled on Saturday night.
Okay.
You think New England Patriots fans are sitting there saying, hey,
we're not going to, you can save that comparing Cliff to Bill Belichick.
30, Alex. They lost by 30.
Okay, you can save that. That's a rookie quarterback against one of the best offenses in the NFL when they're humming.
First playoff game.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's ridiculous. Cliff Kingsbury. Listen, if you think that every 11-6 is the same, it's going to be a weird offseason because it's not. And that's what we witnessed, a complete and utter implosion would be a compliment from what we saw since they went 10-2. An implosion would be an absolute compliment. They won 2 games with Colt McCoy. It is an absolute embarrassment that is, it's hard to put into words what we witnessed the second half of the season. The last 6 weeks of the season, excuse me. After the bye, they beat the doors off Chicago, and they were a terrible football team. That's what we saw. And that's what we're going to live with here. And you can have revisionist history thinking about week 1 in Tennessee when they still had like
history. Like when we talk about this.
When you talk about 11-6, not all 11-6 are created equal. Well, not all 11-6 records are the same journey in a season. And the Cardinals front-loaded the hell out of this season. And when it mattered, they couldn't clinch a playoff spot on their own.
Right. All that's correct. But what the hell are you going to do? Who are you going to like you're watching the Miami Dolphins that want to interview Vance Joseph. You think he's getting that interview still, by the way?
I don't know.
After moving off Flores? Like, what's the plan? What's the plan? What's the strategy to get the Arizona Cardinals from where they were, a complete embarrassment tonight, to competing in a playoff game?
Firing Cliff Kingsbury. That's a good start.
Roster-wise. What coach is going to get
so many?
Roster? Hold on. Which coach is going to get those players to play better than they did tonight? Which coach?
I would say 31 other ones in the NFL.
I completely disagree with
That's fine. And I don't understand. I would take Doug Peterson, Matt Nagy at this point compared to what we saw over the last 6 weeks. Are you kidding me? It's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment to coaching in the NFL, what we saw over the last 2 years, the second half of the season.
And that's not what I'm disagreeing with, but we're sitting here and we're having a conversation. I've said it several times that we don't have the conversation about Cliff right now. We're talking about tonight's game. And you want to make it about firing Cliff right now. I just don't understand it. It was a complete
what do you want to talk about?
It was a complete failure in every single area. I think that there needs to be a discussion about Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray looked awful out there tonight. I mean, Kyler Murray looked like anytime he faced pressure, and he used to be a quarterback that his stats were pretty impressive against the blitz during the regular season, but he folded like a beach chair. It was awful. I don't know what he was thinking when he was in the end zone and he threw the pick six, threw another interception, could have been intercepted a third time. There's a long way to go. I mean, and you can talk about quarterbacks in their first playoff appearances and how they usually don't come out on the winning end, but still to not even kind of get in the fight, it was just wasn't there. It wasn't there. And Kyler Murray wasn't there since the injury. And now in back-to-back seasons, you want to point out Cliff Kingsbury slumping and not being able to get the job done at the end of the season. Neither is your franchise quarterback.
Great head coaches elevate. Sure, this isn't all 100%.
Can we please just?
This isn't. That's what I'm talking. Like, it's not. Sure, Kyler Murray played terribly the second half of the season or the last 6 weeks. Okay, but the reason
where
why
are the players in the accountability for you? Like, do they just get completely?
No, they do. But the reason why this is a different situation is because Cliff Kingsbury was brought in to make Kyler Murray a QB1, and he's failed. That was his main job. And we've seen after week 7 of this year, total plateau. And yes, a lot of it's on Kyler also. I'm not saying it's 100% on Cliff Kingsbury. Tonight, what we saw was, again, 6 quarters of meaningful football where a team wasn't ready to play. And that's on the head coach. That's what it comes down to. So it could be about tonight. It could be about the regulars offseason, whatever. It was an embarrassment tonight.
It was. And I've said that. I completely agreed with you. But you want to continue to make this conversation about Cliff Kingsbury where this was just a complete failure in every single department.
It's been a hard 72 hours, Bo, just to keep that to myself.
When you look at and I don't understand why you don't say what you want to say. Just say it. I mean, are you afraid like you're going to get backlash for it?
No, because I've been saying it since week 1 of this year. Actually, since week 17 of last year, I've been saying it.
You were calling Cliff Kingsbury the coach of the year at one point this season. I mean, that is
through 7 weeks. Yeah.
The Arizona Cardinals, they got to figure some things out because they just weren't good enough in any single department, and it came down to player personnel. And they're going to have so many different conversations to have. Probably saw our last snaps from Chandler Jones. Probably the last snaps from Christian Kirk, AJ Green. See what they want to do with James Conner, the running back who is on a 1-year deal. Chase Edmonds is going to be a free agent this year. They're going to have to make a decision on Kyler Murray. They, of course, can maybe hold serve for a while with picking up his 5th-year option. And then you have to talk about Byron Murphy, another guy who fell off at the end of the season. There's a lot to discuss, and we've got a lot of podcasts in our future here. We do it every day, Monday through Friday. It's your team every day. It's the Arizona Cardinals and Locked On Cardinals. Bo Brack, Alex Clancy. Follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Easy Cards, at Clancy's Corner, at Bob Rack, and of course, subscribe on our YouTube to our YouTube page. What would you want to?
Just one last thing. Regardless of win-loss, tonight, thank you to everybody who's been on the journey with us this year. And Bo said we're not going anywhere. Like, this has been so fun, and it's going to continue to be fun as we, ramp up towards mock draft season, then list season, free agency, OTAs. Like, we're going to be here to do it all again. So thank you to everybody again who's stuck along with us this whole time. And it's only going to get better from here.
Hopefully. A lot of decisions to be made. It's going to be interesting. I don't think you can 100% say anything tonight about what's going to happen in the next couple of days about this organization. I hope that nobody is going to say, "Hey, we're just going to kind of run it back," because they absolutely shouldn't. This team just wasn't good enough, and it was proven correct. I know that you were missing DeAndre Hopkins down the stretch, and you got J.J. Watt, who didn't make an impact tonight. There's a lot to figure out as far as this is concerned. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. I echo exactly what Alex said. We're going to go now, turn the mics off right now, turn them right back on. We'll do our recap podcast. That'll be fresh for you as soon as we get it posted, the latest midnight. And of course, our recap of this entire game. Ugh, that makes me want to vomit trying to do 30 minutes. It's going to debut on premiere on YouTube at 10. All right. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in.